Can you be too young to know what gender you are, but still know who or what created you, the world, existence, and how to worship it? I don't really have much more to expand on this thought, but it's just from the observation when people say that, oh, that child is too young to pick a gender, so we shouldn't actually go along with them. We should just convince them, like, maybe you just have this feeling that you're not really male. Maybe you feel like you're a girl. This could just be something due to societal reasons. Why don't we hold up before we start dressing you as a girl, taking you to things that are traditionally female, even though you want to participate in them? Let's definitely hold up on actually giving you chemicals that are going to change your actual body, the way you work and the way you think and the way you actually approach things, change your emotions. And let's not go into that point. Of course, most definitely, let's not go into surgeries. That one I think we can agree on, that maybe we shouldn't be having these kind of surgeries on children. Leave their genitalia alone, right? But then on the other hand, we have people who are religious and say, this is my religious child. This is my Jewish child. This is my Christian child. This is my Muslim child. And then they do things to them that are also altering the way they approach the world, the way they think the world. Oh yeah, my kid knows God. And I'm not talking even just these creepy child preachers that you see out there that are just as creepy as anyone you see when you go to like some kind of LGBTQ kind of march and thing, and then you see the children being paraded out there and people say they're just indoctrinating that child. That's the same thing that happens in churches. You see those child preachers. When we're talking about the mutilation of genitalia here, circumcision and clitorectomies still exist, and that does come from a religious point of view. In the West, it is more prevalent to actually have circumcisions. And for some people, they might say this is a secular thing now and they're not doing it out of some religions. But it comes from a religious root. And there are some specifically in the Jewish community that are protected for doing that as a specific religious practice. As for somebody saying that they are a girl, despite all the evidence out there that they are actually born male, and then you go in there and you talk to them and say, well, maybe you just have this feeling. Maybe there's not actual evidence for you actually follow this. Maybe you should actually wait till you're older and decide. Why don't you do that to the same level with religions? Because what is the evidence that your child has to truly believe in that God that you're talking about? Why don't you let that child also grow up and then with more evidence decide for themselves with their higher critical thinking abilities? Why don't you let that happen as well? Because I will admit that yes, there are negative effects if you just go along with what your child says and thinks about all these random things as children. There are some people with actual issues that have gender dysmorphia, but it's not as widespread as it actually is. And I think when you talk about theologies, it's reality dysmorphia. It's some sort of existence dysmorphia. And if you actually go along with that, that has lasting effects. That's going to change the way the person approaches the world. That's going to change who they associate with. That's going to change who they view themselves as. And that actually does go in to actually have hormonal and other effects in their actual body and mind that last their entire life, that can last their entire life. Some of the things can be irreversible. Some of the things can be reversed. Some of the things can be horrific in both these cases. In all these cases, you can find a certain percentage of people that say, look, oh, these people turned out okay. But just like you find high suicides in the transgender community, the people who have actually gone through some of these changes at younger ages, you will also find other issues that have come from religions. But theologies have a different protected status in society. I think if the transgender community could find a way to qualify their whole movement as some sort of religion, as some sort of theology, they might find themselves walking into some of these protections that were actually given to these other, I don't want to say nonsensical here, but these other feckless, lacking of evidence, faith-based type of things. If they just say this is a faith-based thing, I have faith that my kid is actually this. Our certain God, our God of transgenderality, has spoken to me and my child and has told them that they need to switch gender and then they will get into the heaven version, or if they live on earth as this one gender, it's a test for them to switch over and then they'll get into this Valhalla paradise after with all these rainbows and live on the rainbows and these things. I don't know. I can develop something in a bit. You could probably develop something. These people can develop something. But no. I mean, they're taking it seriously. For some of these people, it's an actual serious thing that they actually feel personally in themselves. Instead of even making up a new religion, just say one of the current religion's gods has talked to you and your child and has called them to be a different gender. How can you tell that this isn't the truth? This can be based on just the same reasoning that people use to say, yes, my kid preaching this gospel is actually somebody who's been touched by God. It's just a calling that they've had. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. I don't necessarily agree with the people on the religious side, on the traditional theologies. But what I'm saying in this one is just there is a similarity between these two things. If a child is not old enough to decide and know that they're not the gender that they are, I don't think that child is old enough to decide and supposedly know the God and creator of entire existence, and that is what they should worship. That's it for now. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I really appreciate you taking your time to listen to this. There's also links to a merchandise store where I keep posting different things. Some of the things are offensive as this video. Some of the things are relatively non-offensive as just me. Anyway, so that's it for now. Goodbye.